Y'all got beat out by an 11-year-old. You got beat.
I know. It's awesome. I'm mad, though. I'm super mad. If you don't know what we're talking about, Kratz, the card has been found. The magic ticket to Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory and to the Pirates games, the Paul Skenes card, has been found by an 11-year-old. So I only have one question for you guys. So I've been saving this.
It's worth way less now.
I've been saving this, okay? Does anybody want to buy it? Scott, you want to buy this? I mean, is there a
value.
Jackson Holiday debut in there?
The value
I'll buy it.
plummeted.
I'll buy it.
How much?
$20.
No.
Yep.
Come on. Let's get serious.
Well,
I got a Paul
the
Skenes
value's
here.
gone down. Sorry, I was looking for the Paul Skenes card.
I got a Paul Skenes card. Look at that fan.
Mm. But now everyone's like, yeah, we're good. We're not buying this.
It's in a plastic bag, too. That's the best
It's like
part.
Willy Wonka. You're looking for the golden ticket. If they were only giving out 10 and they're all found, no one's buying the chocolate bars anymore. They're going back to Hershey or whatever they were doing.
I don't know.
Take your Paul Skenes.
You know what's funny is I actually said
Saturday.
this morning. I said this morning because I was talking about it. And I said, man, I might go buy some more of those because no one's found the card yet.
But now
all of a sudden, it was like my phone was listening to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was weird. And then all of a sudden, Topps puts that out that it has been found. So
it's over.
What do they take, though? What does the 11-year-old take? Because he was offered a night with Livy Dunn.
Money.
A night.
You just sell it right away?
Money. A night with money.
He was at the Pirates game.
Sure. Okay.
Pirates tickets for 40 years or whatever it was?
His parents are going to say, yo, we're going to make 800 G's on this thing or whatever it is.
You think it'll be that much?
I don't know.
I don't know. How much do you think that card goes for? I don't know.
I don't know the answer, but it's a good amount, and it's more than whatever that package that was offered is.
Okay. Get your sign on Saturday, and then you and the 11-year-old both have a Paul Skenes 1-of-1 card.
Yeah, we're interviewing Paul on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to bring that. I wonder if his autograph is better than Johnny LaDuca.
Johnny LaDuca will not be there on Saturday, although he's invited if he wanted to.
Just the J. He just signs with the J.
Saturday, we'll talk to Skenes. He'll make his FT debut. We'll talk to many of the other award winners. So we're excited for it. If you want more information, we spoke to Mark Feinsand about it on yesterday's show. Even if you're listening podcast-wise later on, there's a separate podcast just on the BBWAA Awards Center. There it is, the 100th annual, but for the first time ever, it is streaming live. So
where was it? Where was it before? That's what I want to know.
It was on MLB Network on delay, recorded.
Oh, really?
They would put it on. Yeah.
I can honestly say I've never watched it before.
Well, now it's going to get the proper promotion it needs.
I agree.
And it's expensive to stream it live, and we're putting the money in because we're richer.
All right, listen, I'm all for it. I can't wait to meet some of these guys. I never met Paul Skenes. Talk to him.
Mm-hmm. Chris Sale, your buddy's going to be there.
Sale will be there. Scooble, obviously. Aaron Judge, I've talked to plenty of times. Barry Bonds, can't wait to talk to him. We can reminisce about our great year that he had while I was there.
Pat Murphy.
Maybe he can sign a shirt for Kratz saying he sucks too.
Stephen Vogt. We're going to have to pull Kratz away from Stephen Vogt.
Oh. Or Murph, which one?
Oh, that's true.
Kratz might have a hard time. He's not going to know which way to go.
That's true.
He's going to be Kratz, if they sit at the same table, think about how much things you're going to have to be doing.
It's like a puppy, Kratz. If you put the puppy down and the two parents go to different sides, and you're like, which side's the puppy going to go to?
Don't make me choose. Me and Voter were teammates with Murph as the coach. So he could be Coach Murph, and Stephen Vogt could just be Steve.
Voter's your choice. Yes. Yeah. And that's okay.
Which one's more likely to hire you as a coach? That's probably the one he'll go with.
Voter.
Oh, well, then I'll go with the other one. I'll make sure I stay clear of that person.
His family is selecting the opposite person to not lose him. All right, let's charge.
Charging the mound.
Ooh, rumor that could become reality soon. The Dodgers might sign another player. So Bob Nightingale started this up. He said the Dodgers, who already have folks screaming about their payroll, reached a tentative agreement with Kirby Yates pending a physical. Then we've since not gotten confirmation from our other insider friends, but Ken Rosenthal put out there that Yates is in serious discussions with the Dodgers. Any deal would be pending a physical. My personal guess is that the physical is important with someone like Yates, who's had some injury issues in the past. But Cameron Maven goes, how is Kirby Yates still a free agent? Established reliever, actually one of the best back-end arms in the game last season, 33 saves, 1.17 ERA. There are some contenders that most definitely can use that production. So this is going to be a tough sell to the rest of the baseball world.
Read the next tweet. Though.
Mike Giroux, who's that?
I don't know. It doesn't matter, but just read what he wrote, and I agree with what he said.
Every single team has passed on him at this point. Then the Dodgers will sign him, and every fan base will complain it's not fair. It's so true.
That's what I'm saying. What Cam said was true. That was yesterday. What Cam said was true, and then Mike Giroux, whoever Mike Giroux is, wrote what every person is thinking of every other fan base. Oh, the Dodgers will sign him, then every fan base will go, it's not fair. It's January 21st today, okay? He's been sitting out there since November. Any other team can go out and sign Kirby Yates.
It's also not a $100 million contract.
No, so it's not fair because your team doesn't want to spend and the Dodgers do. I don't care. It's not fair. Go Dodgers. At this point, I'm about to be a Dodger fan.
Wow. Stop the presses. I get it, though, Kratz. I mean, these guys have been waiting for a while. If nobody's going to sign them because there's this ultimate game going on to lead up to the CBA and nobody wants to spend in free agency, or not many do, then why should the teams that actually care still hold back? I know it's just like pitchfork city right now with MLB, with their fans, but I think they're directing their anger the wrong way.
Couldn't agree more. If you're a Cubs fan and you say, oh, it's just not fair, like it's not fair, you need to direct, anytime you point at somebody, three fingers are pointing back at you. So you need to direct your ire, like I said yesterday, to your ownership. It's just, that's the part that's not fair. You saw even the A's started to spend when they were made to spend. Like, make your owners spend. Do it. And Mike Giroux, that comment was a mic drop. He just took the P off of his name. Like, that was exactly, like, people are just waiting. They want Kirby Yates to, so they can be like, oh, wah, my team didn't get him. Your team had till January 21st. January 21st. Still didn't sign him.
By the way, Mike Giroux, I guess, is a streamer that plays MLB The Show. Apparently, he's pretty good. I don't know. I don't play that game.
He probably has Yates on his team.
He probably does. No, he probably just, it's like, you know what? I'll beat everybody with just Dodgers. I'll just take the Dodgers team and beat everybody.
So,
I'm like,
what am I missing on Yates, though? He's 37. Okay, I get it. But, I mean.
Yeah, I want a ring. Sign me up, Dodgers. I could fake my way through a game.
61 appearances last year, a 1.17 ERA, 85 strikeouts in 61 and 2/3 innings.
Splits and cutters.
Kirby Yates was insanely good last year for the Texas Rangers.
See, that one I don't agree with, city and local. On the other side, when teams do make signings, they don't get the same credit. No, they do get the same credit.
I think they get more credit.
They probably get more. The thing with the Dodgers, everybody's just like, oh, the Dodgers are doing it again. Here they go. They signed someone else. But the Dodgers are doing what they need to do to try to not only win this year, but for years to come. I mean, if I'm a Dodger fan, I am super pumped about all these signings. Like, let's go Dodgers.
We didn't even spend that much time, Kratz, on Tanner Scott yesterday, and I make the case that if he signs with any other team, we would have spent more time on him.
Agreed, because it just seemed like, another one, another one. But I can't reiterate it enough. These guys are out there. You're paying $18 million a year to Tanner Scott. We don't know what Kirby Yates is getting yet. Kirby Yates had an 8.2 whip, .82. He was not letting anybody on base. 33 saves. It was easy saves. He wasn't walking dudes. He was punching everybody out. Like, why are teams not moving on these guys? That's the bigger question. That's what we need to spend more time on.
We do. And, people think it's shady. There's also
you know what I'm tired of people saying?
What?
The Dodgers are ruining Major League Baseball. They're not ruining it. Maybe the other teams are ruining it.
They are.
By not signing guys. The Dodgers are playing their own game right now, and the Mets, this is what the Mets hope to be one day, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees could do this. The Cubs could do this. There's teams out there that could spend more money than they are, but then there's teams, and we're not going to mention by name because we get them enough. Like, we blast them enough.
The Mariners?
I didn't say no names. But what I'm saying is There are teams out there that just don't want to spend because sometimes they look up and they go, we just don't have a chance, so we're not going to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And we can say, go ahead, Marlins. They haven't spent $1 in free agency the whole year. The whole offseason, they haven't spent $1. Why not?
Teams are loading up for the next CBA fight. I know it's still a couple years away, but
what are they loading up for?
Because they can say, look, no one can do anything except for 3 or 4 teams. And they're going to try to make the case like not everyone can sign Kirby Yates. Anyone can sign Kirby Yates. Like you said, at this point, the tribe has spoken. The market has spoken. They don't believe enough in Kirby Yates. He's not asking for $100 million. You don't like him as much as the Dodgers do. I don't even think the Dodgers are in love with him. They're
Maybe
just
he
like,
got $10 million.
He's sitting here.
Maybe he got $8 million.
He should get more than that.
Okay, let's say he got $10 million.
Yeah.
Is there a team out there? What team needs bullpen help? Find me a team. Texas?
Everybody.
Cubs?
Everybody.
Exactly. You telling me a team couldn't find $10 million to sign Kirby Yates?
Yeah.
Dude,
I think he's going to get more than that. If we
I mean,
have
I'm
to
just
guess,
throwing
there's no
I'm
numbers
just saying
out there
if it's
yet.
$10 million. Even if it's $15 million, I don't
Right.
care. Every team can afford a 1-year, $15 million deal. If that's what it is.
Tanner Scott got 18 over 4 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't Kirby get in the 15 range, maybe over 2 years, 28, 30?
I don't know if they'll trust him that much.
But that's
the
probably
injury
the
history is what I'm
disconnect.
saying.
Okay, so maybe it's got to be the 1-year deal. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look
either,
like.
but I'm just
Whatever
saying.
it looks like, we're going to be like, really? Nobody else could go there? That's the part that's hard to fathom for me. Trolls Kratz will say, oh, this show is mostly hosted by players, so they just want everyone to get paid.
True.
I mean, but we're going to hate on somebody if we think they got too much money. We're going to be honest about the fact we're asking teams, I am asking teams, I'm going to speak for the whole show, to put their best foot forward, to give their players who have a small window, teams are going to be forever, they have a small window of playing to get an opportunity to win a World Series championship. And when teams don't do that, that's what I'm against. I don't need every player to get all the money in the world. I want every player to have an opportunity to be on their team that they're on for that moment in time, and everybody push forward to try to win a World Series.
Seems pretty simple to me.
Does to me. By the way,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a guy in the chat, CR Samuelson. I'm not surprised that AJ loves monopolistic behavior. The teams with the most money require all the players. Gee, that's great, AJ. By the way, quit hating the Cubs because they're the Cubs. Okay. Yeah, I do love when teams spend because it usually helps you win. So, yeah. Guess what? I'll be like Ace Ventura. Oh, see, you're the Monopoly man. Yeah, I'll be the Monopoly guy.
But also,
sorry, excuse me.
But also,
you know what I'm saying? Like, this is dumb to me. And also, by the way, I hate the Cubs because of the way the Cubs fans treated me over the years. I actually don't hate the Cubs. I love the Cub fans. You know why?
Why?
Because they made me a lot of money, all those hits I got off of. So thank you. So boo.
The rivalry was fun back then.
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing. The Dodgers payroll, like Bob Nightingale saying here, is going to exceed $380 million. And he said they wanted more bullpen depth with Michael Kopech expected to possibly miss the first month of the season. I don't even know that part. I didn't know he was hurt. But either way, there's a big difference between 380 and like 130.
What are the Marlins going to be, like 30?
Yeah, it's going to be low. But for example, this is where I pick on the teams that have been waiting for this moment, and they definitely can afford more. Like the Twins and the Mariners are in a similar payroll range in like the 130, 140 range. No doubt they can't afford a $300 million payroll. But can they afford 175? Yes. There's also something called revenue sharing for the teams that need it. And the luxury tax, which is what some of these teams go over, pays into the revenue sharing. Some people act like everything is the same except for the money in baseball. Teams get penalized for picks. There's all kinds of incentives given to the bottom feeder teams that don't spend that much money. But often they just pocket it. The Pirates are the prime example. There are other owners of other sports that know their books and have publicly said that they just go cash, pocket. It's true. So like it sounds like we're attacking the same few ownership groups. Sorry, they're ruining the sport right now because they're not playing ball for any free agents. So they're all going to the same place.
I just don't. I don't know. I listen. I just want the the best players to get paid like the best players, and then every team have a chance for him. Now, every team does have a chance for him, but sometimes they don't. And again, it goes back to what we talked about yesterday. LA has a lot of things going for it. They pay fair market value. You're guaranteed a chance to win. Might not win, but you're going to have a shot at it.
Yep.
And you're in LA where there's great weather, a great stadium. They do everything in their power to make people comfortable. Players, families, coaches, everything comfortable. They give you all the information. So if you're a veteran player like Kirby Yates, who hasn't done much in the postseason, never really had an opportunity, the Dodgers come to you with the same value contract that maybe another team offers you, and they're not as good, I'm probably going to the Dodgers too for 1 year or 2 years, whatever it is. Because you know what? Those 2 years or 1 year, I got a shot to win a ring. And you're pretty much guaranteed to be in the postseason. It might not happen, but there's a 90% chance they make the postseason.
You know a team that I really like? The Orioles and the core that they have. But we have been looking at their moves and questioning them, along with many other executives around the sport. So if I'm them, there are a few different things that I would do. Number one, I would build a super bullpen. It's a good bullpen. Kirby Yates would be a perfect fit for Baltimore. If I'm Baltimore, I want to create what the Padres had, right? Towards the end of last year. I've got Cano, I've got Bautista. Let me get a Yates. I know Tanner Scott, I think they were in play for, but they missed. I think they offered a 3-year deal. So there were teams offering 4. You're not going to get the player that way. And then if you add up Morton plus Shigano, those two equal what a number one starter would be. They just chose to kind of backfill and use rotation depth versus going for a top end guy. Could they have gotten Max Fried? Could they have gotten Corbin Burns?
The Orioles feel like their payroll's already gone up a lot. I think
it has. I give them credit. But did they spend it correctly?
Well, now you're talking about decisions.
We'll see at the end of the year.
Yeah. We can't evaluate what they've done, only what their process is. Are they truly trying to get as good as they possibly can in this 3-year window that they still have core dudes that the reason they rebuilt with their whole farm system?
Did they offer Gunnar Henderson the Bobby Witt Jr. deal this offseason? I would love to know that answer.
No.
Why?
Because we have a guest ready.
Okay, cool. So coming up next, we'll talk to Dylan Hernandez, who is a sports columnist at the LA Times, and he also has been following Roki Sasaki for a long time. Be right back. You like that? Looks pretty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. New graphics, who dis? Hungry Root, shout out to them. Personal shopper, please. We all deserve it. I want to be bougie, and I have it. I brought some snacks for you today because I order Hungry Root every week. I figured you would probably like this one. You want to see? Because you go online and you can get grocery.
I do. You know what? So I ordered these. I ordered Hungry Root.
They're good.
I was out of town.
Yeah.
And I ordered it, and I'm just waiting for it to arrive. So I am super excited.
Did you order one of those? Read it.
Honestly, I didn't. My wife ordered it, so I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm mad about that.
That's chicken jerky. Good.
You're more of a turkey jerk kind of guy.
No, I can do beef too, but that one's good. I mean, I got a variety of flavors, but that one's good. I got me some carrot cake coconut cookies. Just going to make our producers really happy by eating on set.
Yeah, they love it. Well, it's at my house, so I mean, like they come over here and clean it. Lord knows the mess you have here in here.
I don't have a mess at all, actually. Look, this is how you stay very clean. All clean.
What's the big deal about eating on the TV, by the way? Because I watched the Today Show today, and they were chowing down on like tailgate stuff, and no one seems to care.
Ooh, tailgate
I don't know.
food.
It was always a thing. I feel like it was a thing in my career where.
Yeah, I know you're not supposed to eat on the air, but I mean, we're on YouTube. Does that count?
Right. Right now we are on YouTube. We're not on TV. So
well, anyway, Hungry Root is good.
Hungry Root's good. There's smoothies for the fam, ready to eat meals, salad kits, etc. You're going to love them. So take advantage of the exclusive FT offer because it is a good one. And I am using it every week right now. For a limited time, 40% off your first box, plus a free item in every box for life. HungryRoot.com/FT and use code FT. HungryRoot.com/FT, code FT, 40% off your first box, free item of your choice for life. And keep your co-host happy by bringing him snacks. Be right back. Sports columnist Dylan Hernandez over at the LA Times joining us right now on FT. Also has a podcast to check out. Look it up, called North and South. Dylan, great to have you on the show. I don't even know what Kratz is doing right now. I do know what he's doing, but I'm actually going to try and at least ask you one spicy question so that people that just check out this segment can get your true thoughts on. You've covered Roki Sasaki and followed his story for a while now. So thanks for joining us. But do you think that there was ever a chance he was going to sign anywhere but the Dodgers?
I kind of did. I think, looking back at it now, probably not, because I think basically kind of came down to like one simple question, right? Was he kind of comfortable playing like with Ohtani? And I think we kind of have to look at this from kind of the context, where he kind of fits in Japanese baseball in terms of, him being a generational talent, right? And he's kind of the generational talent that the country produced after Ohtani. And this would almost kind of be like, I don't know, if Michael Jordan was on a team and they drafted LeBron, right? Would these guys feel comfortable? Would LeBron try to, go to a different team and beat the guy? It's almost kind of like that in a way. And the thing is, with Sasaki, we don't know too much about him. Ohtani was, I know kind of the LA media right now occasionally kind of complains about how Ohtani's not very accessible necessarily. But he spoke a lot in Japan. So, he kind of had like a fully formed public persona by the time he came here. Sasaki hasn't talked very much, and I think the media there hasn't pushed him too much either, in part because of his backstory with the tsunami and him having lost his father and some grandparents there. It's a culture obviously based on consideration. So, Sasaki hasn't talked very much. And just because of that, I just kind of didn't know exactly what it was that drove him, how much would he be concerned about, again, like legacy. At this point he's probably going to be more of an extension of Ohtani's legacy than anything, right? He's going to be Scottie Pippen kind of to Michael Jordan maybe. So just because of that, I was kind of unsure.
All right, Dylan, I actually have two questions for you. First one is, when was this done? Was this done months ago? And you're going to say no because you're a Dodger fan and you're a Sasaki fan. But was this done months ago? Because people have been talking about this for months, that it was a done deal. So why did he go through all the process if this was already such a done deal?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? There were certainly whispers around the game that, that they had something kind of like lined up. Obviously, the Dodgers, in the previous international signing period, left about $2.5 million that they had, kind of earmarked maybe for Sasaki. Obviously, they'd kind of been around. I think, I believe, the Lotte Marines had kind of sent coaches, and even their manager, I believe, kind of spent some time in the Dodgers camp. So, and I believe Friedman last year at the, when Andrew Friedman went over when the WBC, or the year before when the WBC team was training, at least said hi to the kid. I do think that, right, the fact that the commissioner's office moved this into the 2025 signing period, it did at least kind of like balance the scales a little bit, I think, in terms of, right, everybody had their international money available. They had the chance to talk this kid into it. I don't think necessarily that, right, the kid would have necessarily been obligated. Let's say there was anything like that going on. I'm not really sure he would have been obligated to like honor that type of agreement if it moved into this signing period. Now I do think, when one thing with Japanese players a lot is that, money's kind of not the be all end all for these guys. Obviously, if they were for Sasaki, he would have come here 2 years earlier, similar to, or 2 years later, similar to Ohtani, right? He came here as 23, instead of kind of getting the $200 million contract, he got a, $2 million signing bonus. And kind of one thing that I kind of heard, say take last year with Yamamoto, when he first got posted, I talked to somebody kind of in his circle and they were kind of saying, 75-25 Dodgers Yankees. And it kind of played out that way. And I think a lot of it was just, he was a fan of that team. I heard, with Senga when he came, when he got posted, that he was a big fan of the DeGrom, Syndergaard Mets. And, that was the team he wound up signing with. So, I think that the kid himself had some ideas about where he wanted to go and probably just kind of followed that.
Makes sense. It makes sense. Before you say the money doesn't care, then he can give the $2 million back to the Blue Jays that they traded for from the Guardians and wasted because they didn't sign him. So have Sasaki just shoot him over $2 million to make up for that, because I'm sure Toronto fans are super excited. But where does Sasaki rank? Because in your article you said he has a chance to be the best Japanese pitcher ever. Now, I caught you Darvish when he first came over, and he was unbelievable. There were some things he has kind of figured out as he got older, pitch selection, stuff like that. But is Sasaki really better than you Darvish? Because when people ask me who the best stuff I've ever caught was, it's you Darvish by far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of when you take everything, right? I think I'll say this, right? I think the image of like the Japanese pitcher for the most part is kind of somebody kind of crafty, right? Obviously they throw a lot of innings, which kind of helps them, I think, develop early in their career. Sasaki has a body, right? He's 6'3", 6'4", and he's the type of kid who I think had he been born in the United States, gone to like an American high school, he would have been a candidate to be drafted 1-1, right? And, in my mind, there are probably two other guys from Japan that kind of fit that category. One of them, like you mentioned, is Darvish. The second one being Ohtani, and this is probably the third guy. In terms of, he's got velocity, obviously, that's kind of next level. He's hit 102. He was throwing 100 in high school. And I just kind of think there's a smoothness to his pitching motion that just feels very natural. When I see him, pitch, and I the first time I saw him was in high school. It kind of looked like Griffey swinging the bat, right? There's just something. He's got a very high leg kick, yet it's a very repeatable delivery. Now what's interesting about Sasaki is that kind of unlike Darvish, generally speaking in Japan, because a pitcher pitches only once a week, they tend to let him go a little bit more, right? And a lot of these pitchers come here having pitched a lot of innings. Darvish had, I believe, like close to like 1,200 innings in Japan when he came over to the United States. This kid has thrown fewer than 400 innings. So the experience gap is pretty substantial, I think, but in terms of just like raw materials, yeah, when you look at him like athletically, I mean, I saw the kid, I think, and this was just like in a high school game, whatever. So, but he hit a triple and you see him run. This kid is an athlete, and I just kind of think when you put everything together, yeah, at this point, I do think he has a chance. Obviously durability is going to be a big part of that. He hasn't shown he can stay healthy at this point. But in terms of just the raw materials, I do think he has more maybe than any other Japanese pitcher before him.
I want to confirm that your top three is who you said it was, and you're leaving Yamamoto and my good friend Masahiro Tanaka out of that top three, correct? Masahiro Tanaka, the Koshien, possibly the greatest Koshien pitcher of all time?
Well, Matsuzaka is probably the best, right? But Yamamoto, smaller guy, right? He was a fourth round pick in Japan, and again, we're just kind of talking about like the raw tools here. Matsuzaka, again, just with how much he pitched and stuff, was probably the best like 20-year-old since maybe Dwight Gooden, right? In terms of just kind of refinement and stuff. But yeah, in terms of just like raw tools, to me, those three guys kind of stand above everybody else just in terms of their physical frame. I mean, they're as big as, any American player, right? I mean, you look at Ohtani right now and you're not thinking like, oh, he's big for a Japanese guy. You just think like that guy's big. And this kid has, he's very skinny right now, but he has a very projectable frame, I think, that can fill out nicely.
Did he feel stalled in Japan? Did he feel like his development was stalled? Because we've heard in the last few days, like he wants to go to the place where his development, figure out why his velocity went down. Was he stalled, or was he just like, all right, now it's time for me to go face the best players in the world in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, so that to me, his development to me has been very interesting because it has been atypical for a Japanese player, right? And usually kind of in that Koshien tournament that you mentioned earlier, or even like in the prefecture playoffs to get there, you have an ace, you pitch that guy every day. Now, Sasaki's high school coach played independent ball in the United States, and I do believe that he was influenced by that. And, actually in the Iwate Prefecture Championship game, I believe Sasaki had maybe pitched the day before. That manager elected to not pitch Sasaki in the championship for a chance to go to Koshien. Big national controversy in Japan. But I think the manager's attitude was, hey, this kid has a chance to be a millionaire. I'm not going to risk it over a high school tournament. And when he joined Chibalote, they kind of took a similar approach with him, right? I think they treated him the way American teams treat their young arm talent, right? His first year, he did not pitch at all. And, over there's less transparency about injuries and stuff. So to this day, nobody knows why he didn't pitch. He did not throw a single competitive pitch, his first year. And then over the next 4 years, again, right, he threw a total of 394 innings. It's fewer than 100 a year. Part of that was injuries, but I think also, the team again was careful, right? A couple years ago, he pitched a perfect game. He was about to pitch another perfect game in his very next start, and they pulled him with an inning to go out of concern over pitch count. So I think kind of the agreement that he had with Chibalote was, hey, look, I eventually want to go to the major leagues. I don't want to be burned out, right, have my arm just kind of fall off, at that point. And I think they had an agreement to kind of bring him along slowly. And so, yeah, to me, this isn't so much that he was stalled in Japan. I think it was, they treated me in a way that would best prepare me to kind of, right, still have enough when I come over here. I do think a lot of the Japanese pitchers that have come here over the years, Matsuzaka being a good example, probably pitched a little too much when they were in Japan. By the time they kind of came here, they were already kind of slightly on a decline. And so, yeah, to me, this is kind of more, I think in his mind at least, hey, this is the time for me to kind of really go for it now. And in terms of like the development thing, I think, because he hasn't pitched as much as those other guys, he is a little bit on the raw side, right? Compared to, again, most guys with similar experience that have come here at that point. I mean, even Ohtani, I believe, had 500 plus innings at that point. So even compared to Ohtani, who was a two-way player, this kid hasn't pitched all that much, and so I just think he's kind of trying to project ahead, and also to go to a place that isn't going to get him hurt. Now with the Dodgers, obviously you can see it both ways. I mean, they've taken a lot of guys. Not high draft picks and turn them into major league quality arms. Yet, you look at kind of the injury history of their homegrown guys, there's some reason from concern there. But obviously the Dodgers were able to, make him feel comfortable with what they got going on there.
All right, so he went to the Dodgers. What was all the stuff about him wanting a small market team? And if he wanted a small market team, he could have just gone to the Angels like Shohei did and been out covered by the Dodgers. So he could have hid like Shohei did a little bit in Anaheim. Not that Shohei was able to hide in Anaheim, but was any of that stuff true about, him wanting to go to a smaller team, and maybe he saw what Shohei did by going to a smaller market and then going to the bigger market pushed him more to the Dodgers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think we're expecting there to be an introductory presser tomorrow, and we'll ask him those questions. Again, we don't know too much about this kid. I think part of this was based on the fact, again, that he's from the countryside in Japan. The area that he's from, right? Ohtani's also from. Not a ton going on over there. Kind of small, quiet towns. And again, in Japan, he did not deal with the media all that much, right? He did not. And so I think when you kind of look at those things, and again, his reluctance to kind of talk about his origin story, specifically with the tsunami in 2011, I think that there was some speculation that he might not want to be in the spotlight. The other way to look at it here with the Dodgers is, there's going to be, Ohtani's obviously the face of this thing. You got Betts, you got Friedman, you got a ton of these other guys. And even for the Japanese reporters that cover Ohtani and the Dodgers, they're going to have to split their attention now between three different guys. It won't all be focused on him. The fact that he chose the Dodgers in the end, that tells me in the end it really wasn't an issue. I do think, a lot of the speculation was obviously based on the fact that Joe Wolf said that, his agent. But I think the way he phrased it was more that he was kind of open to it, or that it might be good or something. I'm sure it was something he considered, but ultimately, obviously by the choice that he made, it wasn't a do or die type thing.
Dylan, how was your weekend? How did the weekend culminate? How did everything go for you? Was it okay?
Yeah, I was in Philadelphia with the Rams, so. They got knocked out, and I was on a very tight deadline, and I was very, very scared that Matthew Stafford was going to throw for a touchdown at the end and ruin the column that I had written. So the fact that I got out of that, okay, I guess it was good.
How was the?
Oh, there we go. No, there we are. There we are. The snow was brutal, man. Well, the good thing is I stayed at that airport Marriott, so I never really had to. The only time I left the airport was to go to the game. Fortunately, I'll say this, man. There was somebody there really nice that had one of those scrapers. Obviously, those of us from LA, we forget about the scraper. So, yeah, we come outside, our car is covered in snow. And fortunately, the nice gentleman from Philadelphia, lent us his scraper, and so we were able to get out fine.
Good. I'm glad we had something positive from Philly. See all the bad stuff about about Philly fans, Eagle fans, all that stuff. But a scraper, that's like a 16th birthday present up here. And we don't even get that much snow. Like Pennsylvania, I live about 45 minutes from the stadium. We don't even get that much snow compared to like the Northeast or even like an hour north of me. But 16th birthday, you got to get a scraper. So if you see somebody turning 16 in LA, just tell them they're not getting a scraper because they don't need one.
Yeah, well, we might need it for some of the ash that's been falling here. I mean, I shouldn't joke about that, but it's been,
Yeah.
I'm in Pasadena right now, and all that stuff was like a few miles, and it's weird, right? With the winds, every now and then it still comes falling. So, obviously a lot of people have been affected by that, and I think everybody in town here, our thoughts kind of go out to them.
Yeah, we're thinking about, obviously, everyone affected by that. Obviously, I'm sure you have friends and people that you know that have been affected. So, Dylan, thanks for taking the time, though. Appreciate it. Really great insight on Roki's story.
No, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, Dylan Hernandez with us on FT. Give him a follow, Dylan O. Hernandez on Twitter. Check out his pod, North and South. Hey, what's up?
That was a long break. It was a lot of snow.
I needed to wait. Yeah, there's a lot of cold weather and snow going on in the north. We wouldn't.
It's
know
cold
about
here.
It is cold here.
It's like a high of 50 here, Kratz. High of 50.
That's crazy. We're at 15 right now. It's supposed to get up to 16. It's 15. It was 2 this morning. That's coldness. Made me thankful for a garage.
Yes, agreed. But AJ is too humble. In the mornings, it's in the 30s,
which is unheard of. Which is why we don't go outside.
It's borderline.
There's a good chance if I walked outside, I could get frostbite.
Yeah, it could get
with
snowy
your full zip jacket. It's not even quarter zip. It's full.
I have full zip. I went full zip today because that's how cold it is.
That's cold.
Scott's covering his fingers because his little fingers are going to get cold.
Just my hands.
Just middle of his hands.
Long sleeve ski shirt right here. One question, though, about baseball. Mike said, will we ever see teams recruit Japanese managers?
No. Like catchers. They tried it with Kojima. It didn't work. So American catchers don't go to Japan. Japanese catchers don't come here.
Got it. Okay.
Language barrier, different philosophy.
Too difficult, right?
Yeah. Jojima, remember with the Mariners, he tried it. He was pretty good, but after like, I think 2 years, he's like, nope, I'm going back.
He went back.
Because it would be hard. If I went over to Japan or Kratz went over to Japan, if I don't speak the language and I don't really know, they pitch differently than we do over here. So it would be really hard to pull it off.
The language barrier alone is really complicated, right? I mean, Here, managers often have an edge if they are bilingual, Kratz. If they speak English and Spanish, it definitely helps you in many interviews.
Oh, it 100% does. And I mean, John Valentine, he went over. I mean, not John Valentine. Bobby Valentine. Bobby Valentine went over. He was in Japan, but when I thought one year I was close. I thought I was close to going over. I made a connection, and they said, yes, the communication is one thing, but every time I'd need to talk, just like a pitcher, a interpreter would come out. They said there's some teams that don't take out the pitcher in certain situations. They take out the catcher because of a mistake, which was crazy to me. That was crazy insight. They've since shifted away from that, but that was part of the reason is what they said.
We're on all off season, and we miss actually watching games. We're getting closer to that. So I just saw a stray Junior Caminero absolute missile on socials. So I was like, hey, let's show it. Why not, right? Playing a little winter ball, and I think he's going to be awesome. So I sent this in, and that looks like a nice swing.
Kratz, what'd you say yesterday about winter ball? What'd you say?
It ain't the big leagues. I don't remember exactly, but
you said something about like you compare it to something. I don't know what it was, but
I was comparing Johan. I was comparing Rojas Rojas and Ben Simmons hitting a jumper. It's the offseason. It's great that Caminero's doing that because right now is the Winter League Championship. So this is that was Escogido versus Licey. So they're deep into their 7 or 9 game series. I don't know what they play right now, but so it's big games. It's good that he's getting that as a young player, but the results, I don't know. But his numbers are video game numbers down there. I don't care where you're playing. AA, AAA, Winter League, it doesn't matter. It's pretty impressive. It's not just one homer.
Yeah, I'm not saying, because he's dominating in Winter League, he's going to be awesome this year. I just like the player. We got some video of him with a nice swing and a big homer. So who's going to break out this year? You got a young name that you're excited to see?
There's a few of them.
You got one?
Am I going first?
Yeah.
I'm going with Paul Skenes' college teammate, Dylan Cruz.
Mm.
Why? Because he's going to get a shot to play every day. He did okay last year, but he usually doesn't strike out a ton. He gets on base. And the thing for me about him is he gets to play every day. So he's going to go to Washington, and they're going to say, hey, you and Mr. Wood, you guys are the future of our outfield. Go out there and play 150-plus games this year and figure it out. That's, to me, it's about getting an opportunity to play. And he's going to get that, and plus he's from Orlando, so that doesn't hurt.
This might get
Homer.
Misconstrued. Yeah, Homer, but I'm going to say it anyway. Remember when Dylan Carlson was coming up, and everyone was excited because they're like, he's going to do everything really well. I feel like Dylan Cruz might actually be that guy, plus more speed than you think.
Yeah.
But how did they handle Dylan Cruz? I mean, how did they handle Dylan Carlson?
Not well.
Bounce, 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 bounce. Oh, going back. Oh, how can he not figure it out? What AJ said, spot on. Evan Grant even said that yesterday about Wyatt Langford. Wyatt Langford improved. He was Rookie of the Month for the month of September. These dudes are learning in the big leagues and getting everyday at bats, getting 600 ABs. You're automatically allowed to improve instead of being like, I got to get a hit here. Oh, I didn't get a hit. I struck out twice. Are they platooning me? Are they pinch hitting for me? That is spot on by AJ.
All right, so who's your guy?
Jackson Jobe. What do the Tigers need? They need pitching. They haven't swung and missed on some of their prospects. Obviously, they have Tarek Skubal, but some of the other guys, Casey Mize, you've had injury types of things with guys. Jackson Jobe, yes, I get it. People are going to look at what he did in the postseason and be like, he was 21 years old. He had never once come out of the bullpen. He had never, in the minor leagues, it was all starts. This dude has electric stuff, and he has a manager who is not afraid to put him in situations that will help him learn, but also help the team. And I think the Tigers, as every team, needs starting pitching. It's tough when you have to lean on a 22-year-old now to start this season. But to me, I think he really is going to be leaned on a lot, and his success could dictate how well they do in that division.
Yeah, he's one of the top pitching prospects in the sport.
And everywhere you read, he's got great stuff. Not only a great fastball, but he's got great off-speed stuff. He's got great control. He's got great composure from what they say and what he showed in the postseason last year. Now, it goes down to this like every other pitcher. One of the reasons why I was a little scared to pick a pitcher, can they stay healthy? Andrew Painter, he was on the list, and I was like, man, I'd really love to see him excel in Philly, but he's coming off Tommy John. I mean, he's coming off missing a whole year, right? Can the young pitcher stay healthy? That's the thing. Can Jackson Jobe stay healthy for the whole year?
This plays to the point of Baseball America almost always putting a position player number 1 overall in their top 100. So we got into it a little bit yesterday. If you want to check out that show at some point, if you just type in Baseball America, wherever you're watching or listening to stuff. But it was interesting. There it is. There's the crew. JJ, Ben Badler, Jeff Ponce is also usually on the show with us, not pictured there. So
who's the guy on the bottom right?
That is
LSU's first
baseman. Name Ray. Right. But now in the Rays system.
He's now at the Rays.
Oh, I'm forgetting the name right now. You're putting me on the spot. Great. I can't remember it. Now I'm a jerk. But
he made that great crazy
play. Right?
Morgan? Is it Morgan? Eli Morgan? No, that's all right.
Trey Morgan.
Trey Morgan.
Okay, good. I got it.
Not even on that show, and I know it.
Exactly. Hey, Jameson Taillon joining us next on FT. So we'll step aside for a sec. We'll ask him about Cubs convention from this past weekend. Where do you see it? You see Yates official somewhere?
In the chat, someone said it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see it from anyone, but cool. Congrats to the Dodgers for landing Yates. I'm excited to see what the money looks like for him, and then to see what his season looks like and what held other people back from taking the plunge into the low 1 CRA. Guy's always been really good when he's been on the field. Sometimes teams flunk medicals and it doesn't work, Kratz. Like sometimes teams flunk medicals and then they're like, oops, he was fine and we were a little too cautious about it.
I feel like everybody's medical can be flunked, especially pitchers, especially 37-year-old pitchers. You could flunk something. I honestly had no idea, this is too super off topic, but Kirby Yates, I had no idea that I played with his brother because I played with a guy named Tyler Yates, who was also from Hawaii. But Tyler Yates was like 6'4", 6'5", like 240, like a monster. Kirby is like 5'8", 5'10", something like that. And I'm like, there's just no way. At the All-Star game last year, Tyler walked across the conference center and he was like, Kratz, he's like, what's up, man? I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, dude, my brother is in the game. I'm like, Kirby Yates is your brother? It's like, you guys aren't even close to the same size.
No, and Kirby was much better than Tyler. No offense to Tyler, but I do remember him. Yeah, little taste in Pittsburgh, Atlanta. He really didn't get much of a chance until kind of late. I mean, he got like a few appearances or 21 appearances when he was 26, and then wasn't back in the majors till 28, and then stuck around back and forth for 4 years. But anyway,
I broke him. I caught his last pitch.
Yeah, that was the problem. There you go. But good for Kirby Yates if that ends up working out for him with the Dodgers. I'm just curious where all these other teams are going to go for their elite talent. And, you know, Jeff Hoffman also spoke recently once he signed with the Blue Jays about how he was super pissed and unaware of anything wrong. Obviously, every player is going to say that to an extent, but I don't know. The way he described it, I believed it. He's just like, yeah, I don't really have an issue. I don't know where it came from. So we'll see what happens. But I do agree, especially pitching medical evaluation.
Listen, you could go into any player, baseball player, and do an MRI, a CAT scan on their back, a hitter, and you could probably find something.
Yeah.
If you're digging deep enough, you can go into any pitcher's MRI on their elbow and their shoulder, probably find something.
Exactly. And for the medical side, they're trying to cover their asses. All right, here we go. We've got Cubs starter Jameson Taillon joining us right now, and he is fresh off of Cubs convention too. So Jameson, great to see you, dude.
What is
How you doing?
Like one of those vans, like those 20-person vans? Like what the heck kind of car is that?
Yeah, there's a chef in the back. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Isn't this what you have to do in the off season? You take calls from your car. Isn't that what guys do? I'm just doing what I see other guys do.
I want to know what kind of car that is because that thing looks like one of those vans you see with like a whole team in the back. Okay.
It's not that big, I swear. I'm just hanging out here at the Cubs facility. Just finished a little bullpen.
Nice.
Oh, you're already in Arizona.
Yeah. I bought a place down here last year with my wife. It's just like, Arizona's just so easy to get better. Like, you never have to worry to find a catcher. Our facility's great. I have a really good PT and chiropractor down here, so it just kind of feels like the place to be.
Did you see when Corbin Burns signed with Arizona out of nowhere and go, yeah, that makes sense. It's pretty awesome if he just gets to chill here the whole time and the deals were close enough.
Yeah, I mean, he gets to be in the same place year round. That's pretty nice. I can't blame him.
Yeah. Nobody can blame anybody for that.
Does it make you soft? Because April in Chicago is going to be Brutes Magoots. You're going to be like, save me for May, maybe? I don't know.
I think maybe I'm just psycho. I kind of view it as like an advantage pitching in the cold. I don't know. If I can just like psych myself up, I feel like pitching in the cold weather has usually been kind of kind to me. Obviously, this year the win was actually on the pitcher side all year at Wrigley, but I feel like usually in April it's a good month to pitch at Wrigley. So hopefully that just stays consistent.
Yeah, as a pitcher, you want that wind blowing. As a hitter, man, it was those days when the wind was blowing out. It was like just flick a ball in the outfield. It's whoo, and then some dude's throwing it back at you. But so did you go right from CubsCon right to Arizona? Was that part of like the Cubs deal? They're like, if you go to CubsCon, then you have to go. We have a charter plane for everybody right to Arizona.
I didn't get a charter plane, but there are a lot more guys down here now than before. I honestly think we probably have like half of our 40 man here already, if not more. Um, yeah, it seemed like that was kind of the topic of conversation at CubsCon. We're like, oh, where are you guys going after this? And everyone was like, I'm either going home for a week and then to Arizona, or I'm going straight to Arizona. And obviously, like, we open in Japan this year, so I think that's on a lot of guys' minds, like just getting down here and getting their bullpens going and stuff.
That's what I was going to ask you. You guys opened in Japan. How much different does that change the offseason? We talk all the time about how World Series playoff teams, it changes your offseason, and fans give us a hard time. It's like, no, there's no way. They only played for 2 extra weeks, 3 extra weeks. How much does this beginning of the season in Japan change for you specifically?
It changed it a little bit. So as I've gotten older, I feel like the more time I take off throwing in the offseason, my shoulder and stuff just takes a longer time building back up. So I've started, I used to take 2 months off of throwing, and then it moved to 1 month and then a couple weeks. This year I took off like a week or two, um, and just kind of kept the arm moving. Nothing crazy, but just like kept it moving so I don't have to, so I can avoid kind of like the 2 or 3 week build up period where I'm just like, I hope my shoulder stays attached to my body and I'm not really getting anything out of it. So this year I kind of got to skip that stage, which was nice. Other than that, like, I've thrown 3 bullpens, which is pretty normal this time of year. Like, I'm not 10 bullpens in. I'm not facing hitters yet or anything.
Wow. All right, so you guys get to go to Japan, open against the Dodgers. Are you scared that nobody will beat the Dodgers this year? Do you think the Dodgers can go 162-0? So why are you guys wasting your time going to Japan to play against them?
I mean, it's a pretty sweet roster they've got over there. There's no doubt.
All
I
right.
saw
I mean, come
when they
on.
were when they were recruiting Sasaki, like who was at their meeting. It's like that's some serious star power, obviously. But like, you guys know how baseball is. If you pitch well and play good defense, like anyone can get beat on any given day, and that's what makes it a great sport. Obviously, like I don't even know what's their win over under total 105, 110 or something. Like they're going to win a ton of games, but anyone can get beat on any given day. Just try to, if I'm pitching against them, it's like try to avoid the slug areas, make them beat you like to the opposite field, and hope that my defense behind me with a bunch of gold glove winners is ready for it that day.
Wait, you don't have to like come up with a new pitch or something to face the Dodgers? Because we've been getting eviscerated that nobody can beat the Dodgers. It's not fair. Can you explain to people like your mindset? You said, a basic scatter report, but a mindset. Do you want to beat the Dodgers more than other teams? Or are you like, you know what? I want to go out and win every game I can possibly win.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much added. Obviously, like you guys know, you go to Dodger Stadium, like I think everyone gets just excited to play there. I think Yankee Stadium's the same way, Wrigley, maybe Fenway, like guys just get up to go play in those stadiums. But I don't think it's not like I have anything against the Dodgers or anyone on that team. I think obviously you want to pitch well and go up against the best, but I'm not going to go in there and like reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. The problem is, you said everyone got excited to go to Wrigley. I used to before they reinvented Wrigley and put the scoreboards and all that. I mean, it made it too modern. So you missed the days when they didn't even have walk-up songs, right? I remember we played there one time, and Ryan Terrio was leading off, and they played a song, and he was all excited, and it was an organ song. It wasn't even like the real song. And I'm like, why are you so excited? He goes, first day we're allowed to have walk-up songs in the history of the Cubs.
Wow.
I'm like, what? It's an organ. Like, nobody even knows what song it is. So listen, back in the old days, Wrigley was a different animal than, you guys have the club Wrigley right now with your locker room. So
sick.
Yeah, it is sick. So let's calm it down here a little bit. But you mentioned the Roki meeting. If the Cubs made it to the Final Four, let's say, who would be in the Cubs Roki meeting? Would you be there? Would it be you, Dansby, Nico? Who do you think would be the guys?
I don't know if I put myself at that table. I would imagine we would have Shota there, or at least zoomed in or whatever, FaceTimed in. Yeah, I mean, I think Ian Happ understands what it's like to play in Chicago and win in Chicago and stuff like that. You know what the Cubs do a really good job of too is like, I was just at CubsCon and seeing all the Blue Jackets and the Hall of Famers that are around all the time. Like, why not bring Fergie Jenkins to a meeting like that or something, or Sutcliffe or Kerry Wood, Ryan Sandberg? Like, we do a pretty good job of keeping those guys, at an arm's length or whatever, keeping them around. And like for me, I get starstruck every time I'm around them and hear their stories about playing at Wrigley and stuff. So, yeah, and from what I've heard, the Cubs did a really nice job with our presentation and stuff. Obviously, he picked the Dodgers, and can't blame anyone for going to the Dodgers. I think we would have been a great landing spot, but yeah, I don't know who else we would have put at the table.
Okay, first of all, I have to get on you because you just said Rick Sutcliffe was a Hall of Famer. Now he's a Hall of Fame talker.
Let's
establish that,
Cubs
right?
Hall of Famers.
Oh, Cubs Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Cubs Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, well deserved, well deserved.
Yeah.
But I have to ask this before we get into something else about this. How many times have you heard Sutcliffe tell you the same story, but it just gets changed just a little bit? I love Sut, and I've been around Sut a lot, but he tells the story and it just gets changed just a little bit. So Sut's like, I'm like, okay, Sut, I got it. The fireworks story he's told
hung
a million
around
times.
him enough. I think he's a great storyteller. I need to go. He
You
had an
do.
offer out on the table the other day to go watch the Chiefs Texans football game at Murphy's in Wrigleyville. And it was my anniversary, so I couldn't go. But I was like, man, that'd be fun to sit around and drink some beer with Sut at Murphy's.
He will drink you under the table. Be careful.
AJ said he'll drink you under the table.
He will drink you under the table.
Yeah, he's a
okay.
tank.
I don't doubt it.
Okay, that's fair. What is the who out of that whole list? Who were you most starstruck? Now you've been around him for a few years. When you first met him, because Ryan Sandberg was my manager in AAA, and then he became a coach in the big leagues and manager in the big leagues for a little bit while I was there in Philly. But who was the guy that you were kind of like first time? Whoa, I didn't know he'd be hanging around.
Dude. So when they announced Fergie at CubsCon, they list off stats, and obviously, I think he threw like 4,000 or 5,000 innings in the big leagues. But they announced he threw, I think, like 280 complete games in the big leagues, and I've made 200 starts in the big leagues, like 200 starts period. And when they announced that, and then obviously, like, he comes down here and hangs out with us in spring training. And last year, I was like riding the Peloton in the coach's room, and Fergie just sits down next to me and starts kind of just like shooting the bull. And that was one of those kind of like a little starstruck. Also, like, I'll never forget that moment. And he likes watching my bullpens and stuff, which is super, super cool. So I'll say Fergie.
Okay, that's fair. Did you get to talk to Sosa this year? I think this is his first year that he made it to CubsCon. How sick was that, or was that not cool?
That was sick. Two guys that got announced this year that were really special: Sandberg, and then Sosa. Sosa comes out running around the stage, dapping everyone up. Obviously, like, brings the energy. The fans were really excited to see him, but I was really impressed with it. And a lot of us were talking amongst ourselves, like, we didn't know that he still watched Cubs games pretty intently. So he's talking to like different guys, like PCA. He's like, man, I love, when you do this with your swing, or when you go and catch a ball in this gap against this team in this stadium I was watching. And for me, he's like, man, your cutter backdoor to lefties was really good this year. Last year, make sure you trust that going forward. And I'm like, oh, dude, you actually watch and pay attention to what's going on. Like, I thought that was super cool.
It's about time for Sammy, right? It's about time. I mean, listen, I played against Sammy and Wrigley, and I witnessed all that. So, I mean, it was about time for them to welcome him back. I mean, the way he left was a shame.
Sure.
But for him to finally be welcomed back, who was the other person? It was Sammy and someone else. Who went into the Hall of Fame this year?
Derek Lee.
Oh, Derek Lee.
Derek Lee.
Another great guy. Awesome guy, if you haven't been around. Except for he tried to fight Chris Young, which has to be the tallest fight in the history of Major League Baseball.
How tall is Derek Lee?
Taller than me.
Yeah, he's like 6'6", 6'7".
Big dude.
I was gonna say.
You got Chris Young with 6'10".
I've got a pretty good Chris Young story. I was in high A in 2012, and he was rehabbing with the Mets. And you guys all know the Pirates back in the day pitched in, dropped guys, brushed them off the plate. I was throwing in on a guy too much that day. I drilled a guy, and Chris Young. And obviously, like, when you know there's big leaguers rehabbing, you just want to like impress them and maybe get to talk to him the next day or whatever. And I drill a guy on his team. He's a rehabber, and he stopped top step screaming at me. And then in free agency a couple years ago, I talked to the Rangers a little bit, and me and CY had a pretty good laugh talking about that story. And he's like, you know what? From the other side, I hated it, but it shows me what kind of teammate you are, type thing. So we had a pretty funny moment.
Whoa. So you're saying you didn't sign with the Rangers because in A-ball you drilled a guy and Chris Young hated you. Is that what I got out of that? Is that the
I
quote we
think
can
I
put
didn't
out
sign with
there?
the Rangers because Jacob DeGrom was a free agent and they got him. I think that was
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, you got a little more.
I think
yeah.
he ended up in a good place. So he's been great for the Cubs.
It's a great spot. It is.
As much as it pains me to say that, you have been great for the Cubs.
Yes, that's true. Jameson, do you think it's an advantage for someone like Chris Young when he's talking to players sometimes? Like if he's working on recruiting and the offer is the same for a player and he can have the relatability there? We're starting to see a little bit of a renaissance where more former players are getting higher up front office roles again. I mean, who else? Craig Breslow is in that spot. I feel like there's one or two
Dipoto
others.
played. I mean, there's a ton
Chris
of
Getz.
Buster, yeah, Buster's the big one.
Yeah, there's a lot actually at the top now, and it wasn't the case maybe 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, I don't think it would impact me necessarily if you played or not. I do think what former players have is an advantage to know what players want, whether it's like open and honest communication or, like how to present information, how to be forward thinking and analytical while also having some empathy and understanding what it's like to be out there and, pitching and being alone in front of 40,000 people. Like, I think what former players get is that like real nice understanding. And when the Cubs were presenting stuff to me as a free agent, like I did sit down with Craig Breslow and talk about just like a crazy sharp dude who also pitched and gets it. So that was a nice like balance, I guess, for me.
Did you see what Tom Ricketts said about how the team breaks even and they can't keep up with payroll and stuff with the bigger teams?
I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. I mean, I was our player rep. I've been a player rep for a long time, so I'm privy to like how owners try to present things and how the player side tries to present things. That being said, like I know this is a boring answer. Like, I don't know what the books look like. I do know the Cubs run a great organization and a great operation, and Wrigleyville is always popping, and Wrigley's always popping. But to act like we don't spend it all, too, like, we do spend money. Like, Ricketts has gone out. Like, they do get free agents. We do spend when it's the right player and stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and, like, bash what we're doing. That being said, there's a CBA coming up. So whenever I see quotes from anyone around the league, I do kind of think sometimes like, okay, from the player union side, how am I going to read into this? Are we posturing for the upcoming CBA, stuff like that?
But you're sitting there halfway through the last 2 seasons. You guys are right on the fringe. I know the discussions in the clubhouse. Who can we make the move to go get? You're with the Pirates. We never made any moves when the organization, when you were with the organization there. How tough is that as a player to hear that, you know what, we're not going to quite go full tilt? Because think about all the stuff you've talked about. You're already throwing bullpens. You have big old red marks on your arms. You have a PT, a physical, you have all this. You put so much into winning, doing as best you can. To hear comments like that, does that just deflate you a little bit, or is that just it's all part?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, it doesn't do anything for me. Like, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Honestly, when I was younger, I tried to play GM some and try to do all that. And as I've gotten older, it's like, you know what? And when you're younger, you always hear control what you can control. And it's like, well, what does that mean? And then as you get older, it's like, I'm just going to focus on me and stay in my lane. That being said, like last year, we didn't put ourselves in a great position to go out and acquire people. Like I felt like underperformed going into the deadline and stuff. Like I also look in the mirror and say, like, what can we as players do better? Could we have put ourselves in a better position? Like last year, we let the Brewers get out to a pretty big lead in our division, and that's on no one other than us. Like we had the resources last year, and we put way more into our payroll than Milwaukee. They played great baseball, but they also built like a really nice lead in the division. So it's like part of that's on us. Like it's not like we forced their hand last year, at least mid-season, to go out and go crazy at the deadline or anything like that.
Okay, last one before we let you go. You're in Arizona early, obviously. So who's your golf foursome? What are you doing? Are you going out to eat with everybody on your team? Or are you going out to other players on other teams that you know? Because in Arizona, there's somebody every time you go to the grocery store, to the gas station, you run into somebody when spring training is going on. So are you
There's
hanging out
baseball
with your
players
team?
everywhere.
It's unbelievable. Are you playing golf with your guys? Or are you playing golf with guys on other teams? And what's your course of choice?
I had the golf bug years ago, and then I got my second Tommy John surgery, and I kind of cooled it on the golf. I was like, I'm going to try to make enough money to where when I'm done playing, I can go golf whenever I want. But now I feel like I have a responsibility to the Cubs for paying me to like really take care of myself and my arm. So I know it's boring. I don't play much. I did play once this offseason, and I played at a course out here called Mountain Shadows. It's like a nice par three. And for me, that's perfect. 2.5 hours. I don't have to hit driver. I don't feel as risky playing. I do hear our guys talk about it a lot. It sounds like Justin Steele's got the golf bug, PCA. Ian Happ's a really nasty golfer on our team, from what I understand. So I'll play like the Phoenician or Mountain Shadows, but I'm gonna definitely play more when I'm done playing. And I'll tell you, I need lessons bad when I'm done.
Wait. So you're telling me there's a lot of players everywhere? Like you go to the grocery store, you go to the movies, you see different people out, and yet you couldn't find a catcher?
That was down in Cabo. And honestly, there's probably
Oh,
baseball players down there too this time of year. But yeah, I just go to this tennis court at the place we stay and rip into the net. They actually have 2 tennis courts stacked, so sometimes I'll long toss, and then that's the end. I'll just do pull downs into that. Um, People ask how many takes that took. That was actually my second throw going into that direction. Just so happened to be lucky enough to get it.
That's cool.
That's
perfect
awesome.
Lots of
return.
major league
So
pitching
wait, what
for
do you do? You game, right? You're a gamer. So if you don't golf and you're in Arizona, there's no water. You can't go on a lake.
Pool.
So I guess you go to a pool, but you got to do something because you're a newlywed. So I know you guys are still in love, but after a while, you're going to need a hobby. So your hobby is gaming,
I've
right?
I've got some weird hobbies. So I actually collect some Pokemon cards. I play Fortnite. I like riding my bike. I actually play some acoustic guitar, and I'm trying to pick that back up. I think that's probably going to come back this year. I've taken a hiatus, but I think I'm gonna pick that back up and take some lessons.
That's cool.
Wow.
I like that.
Isn't that bad for the elbow though? Because like,
What?
I don't know.
Joel
It's
Zumaya.
not
Actually,
Guitar
Joel
Hero
Zumaya.
where you're.
yeah,
Yeah,
was it
that's
Joel
different.
Zumaya or whatever? Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually played a little bit during my second TJ rehab, and my elbow has been in a good spot, knock on wood. So maybe that put me in a good spot.
Okay.
Right. You got to do different things. Like when you're a kid, play different sports.
Play like behind your
Yeah,
head.
Exactly. Right. Smash the guitar. No.
It's good for my
Jameson,
brain.
awesome
Like
having you, man.
I don't read
Yeah.
anymore, so playing the guitar helps.
Yeah, you're reading music if you're playing it like that.
Wait,
right?
are you
Or you're
excited about
memorizing.
I know we got to go, but are you excited about the new Fortnite? Didn't they go back to the OG Fortnites? Are you excited? Because you're a Fortnite guy, right? So you're excited about
Yeah,
that?
I'm a Fortnite guy. I was just talking about it with someone at the complex. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I logged some hours. I'll play. Yeah, actually, I play with our pitching coach a little bit, and we've got a few guys on the team that are pretty good.
That's awesome. I like
Okay.
that. All right. Well, Jameson, this was great, man. We got the full scope here. So I'm glad we caught up. Obviously, people love hearing from you. Very rave reviews from the crowd here that's listening on YouTube and on Marquee and everywhere else. So thanks for joining us, dude. We'll be in Arizona, so we'll try and catch you when we're out there, all right?
Sounds good. See you then. See you guys.
Appreciate you. Yeah, see you soon. Jameson Taillon, Chicago Cubs. Great talk. That was great. Jameson's really good. Really strong.
He was great. He was very
Yeah.
honest about a lot of things. He gave us great answers.
He's a
to
good
everything.
combo.
I mean, everything we asked. And I find that funny, He's like, that's the first guy I've ever heard say, well, I don't play golf because I'm protecting my elbow.
That's cool.
That's great. It was a
Yeah.
great answer. And he was honest about it.
It's like I could play the
He's
rest
like,
of
I'd
my
rather
life.
play the guitar and play football. Doesn't he get carpal tunnel? But I don't know Fortnite. I don't know
Depends.
about Fortnite.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. You can play video games hardcore or gracefully and still be just as effective, if that makes sense.
Jolice Chassin. Jaleese Chacin was the greatest Fortnite player I've ever seen in my life. He would come out late sometimes to warm up before his starts. He was playing a final, he's just in another final game. Best Fortnite player I've ever seen.
Wow.
Is that like Tommy Kahnle? I mean, I remember going to his locker in Yankee Stadium, and he had like a full setup in his locker.
Yeah.
I think he plays FIFA.
Up.
Kahnle play FIFA?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he had like his own monitor, and he had his own station, like his own system right there. And
FIFA's fun.
That year.
Yeah, and you can play 2-on-2. It's fun.
In 18, Locaine went out and bought everybody's system so they could all play in their locker. So there's a bunch of dudes just sitting playing Fortnite with the monitor in their locker, and some of them just got really good at it, and Jaleese was one of them.
Didn't they get in trouble one of those years, the Royals, where they told them they were in their phones too much playing games?
The Royals, yes. The Royals, that was a different game, though. I'm talking about the Brewers in 18. Everybody got into Fortnite in their lockers, like AJ was talking about. Yes, guys were on their phone a little bit too much.
Yeah. The big thing now is all these guys have these portable systems they carry with them. If you go on a team plane, all these guys have these cases, and they're on wheels, and they're part of their luggage, and they have TVs, systems, and all they do is take the cover off, and boom, they have a whole portable system ready to go, like for whatever game they're playing. It's pretty crazy the things these guys have now.
Hey, they can afford it.
I remember Derek Holland, when I was with the Rangers, he used to bring a TV, and we'd play Tiger Woods on the back of the plane. We might have made some wagers on him.
That's fun. I love that.
It was great.
All right, I'll ask the other question I had from someone in the next break. So we'll be right back. We're going to go over some winners and some losers from the offseason. In the weeds, our friend Jim Bowden, who will be joining us more frequently soon, put this one out there in The Athletic, the biggest winners and losers of the MLB offseason so far. You guys want to see the winners list?
Dodgers. Dodger fans.
That is true.
Dodgers
are on the list.
The Guggenheims.
Scott Boras.
Juan
Soto.
Yeah.
Left-handed pitchers.
Yeah, they got paid. Max Fried, the Yankees and Max Fried. Yeah, there was a bunch of them.
Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Legacy Snell. My favorite is Ken Kendrick.
Go on.
Just because. We talk about all the time. Oh, the Dodgers, it's so unfair. Ken Kendrick was like, screw that. I'm in the division. All y'all complaining about the other division, and you're complaining from another division. I'm in the division. I'm not giving up. We can't complain about and we can't talk about the Tom Ricketts without saying and praising that Ken Kendrick did it. Did he get Corbin Burns at maybe a discount because he wanted to stay home? I don't care. He still got him. He got him. He went out there, and maybe his payroll is a little bit stretched. He's doing it because he wants the best for his team.
Yeah, and people like that make other owners look bad. I'm just going to keep picking on the team because I'm with them, but I mean, the Mariners probably make more money than the Diamondbacks. I think that's pretty fair. So Ken Kendrick makes that group look bad, period.
Yeah.
They're putting more into the team.
Good for him. Good for Diamondback fans.
Yeah, very good for him.
I mean, the rest of the list, Dick Allen, Dave Parker, awesome for them to get in. And Tom Hamilton, down goes Anderson.
He's awesome.
But no, I think is the city of West Sacramento. I mean, I guess they won because they got the A's.
Yeah, so if you're in Sacramento, you at least get Major League Ball for a few years.
True.
You get to watch.
It could be permanent the way the thing in Vegas is going.
True. And you get to watch a bunch of big boys step foot in that ballpark over the next few years, which they're going to be promoting.
True.
Losers, ready?
Yeah.
So Nick Pavetta's on this list.
Yeah, agreed. Should have taken the QO.
Seattle, which I've talked about 8 times today. Yeah, well, the thing with Pavetta is that many teams take that qualifying offer very seriously. They put money towards it, right? They'll say, hey, that pick to us is worth $10 million, Ken. Rosenthal has explained that process to us. So Jim put in that article, he's not aware of a single offer for Pivetta yet. Now, Pivetta's a nice pitcher.
His career record is 56 and 71
Okay,
with a 4.76. I'm
care
sorry.
that much about the record.
Someone offers me, if I'm 56 and 71, over a 4.5, and someone goes, "Hey, we'll give you 1 year, 21 million." I'm like, I'll sign in blood.
Yeah,
I'll sign in Scott's carrot cake hunger root here thing.
4.14 ERA this past season.
6 and 12. I know wins don't matter, but he's still 6 and 12.
I understand, but he's going to sign. It's just that the qualifying offer is a weird thing because it only punishes a few players. So it's not like something that I think the union is fighting tooth and nail for. But somebody usually does get screwed in a scenario like this. And this year it just happens to be Nick Pivetta. You look at the direction that he took versus the direction that Nick Martinez took. Nick Martinez took it. I think the Reds didn't expect him to take it and wanted to make sure they got a pick if he left and got, some type of Seth Lugo-ish deal. But he's like, nah, I'm good. I'll take $21 million and worry about it next offseason. And then I won't have the attachment because you can only do it once.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's tough for him. And he's probably not going to get that number. He's probably going to have to accept, like a 1 year 12, something like that. Because teams are going to punish it. They're going to say, this is worth $9 million to me. So your 21 is actually 12 to me. It's a crappy game.
That's why you end up signing a 2 year 24 or something like that. Usually is how it ends up happening.
Okay. All right. And then other names on here: Mariners, Blue Jays, Astros, John Mozeliak, Atlanta Braves.
Mariners fans, I think it should be. The Mariners just haven't signed anybody. The Blue Jays have lost out on everybody. They keep trying. The Astros obviously lost Bregman and Tucker, and they replaced them with Christian Walker.
I think they're going to be pretty good, though.
Paredes. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't love them.
The Braves obviously lost Fried and Charlie Morton, big rotation pieces. So and they haven't really signed anybody. And then the last one, John Mozeliak, how is he a loser? Because he said this is last year. Like he should be going out like, woohoo, boys.
But that's the problem is, Jim gives him a lot of respect and appreciation in the article for how much consistent winning he put together. But he's like, it just sucks that in his last offseason, he literally can't do anything.
He still can't get rid of Arenado either.
He can't. He talked about it the other day. He's like 50-50 that they trade him, and it's really holding back their entire
but the problem
offseason.
is he won't go anywhere.
I know. Well, that is a huge issue.
They had a deal for him to go to Houston.
Boston seems like a tough situation. No. Because Kratz, you're going to call up John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox, and you'd be like, yeah, cool, we'll take him, but I want him on a massive, massive discount because I love those deals, baby. And then they're going to be like, nah, that's the point of us trading him is we're actually going to unload the salary. And he's like, nah, we're good.
And it's not like Breslow is going to give up any of his prospects. It's like, well, he's got – unfortunately, they got him. They're holding him. They're holding him hostage right now. And I'd love it for Arenado if he got to go somewhere else because you don't want to see one of the great players, great defenders in the last 10 years.
Totally disagree. Actually, Nolan's holding him hostage for me. They had a chance. They had a chance to send him to Houston. He said no. He has all the power. The Cardinals went to him. Maybe I swear I read this. We've talked about it. They said, hey, if you can find a trade, you and Ray, go. They haven't been able to find. They found the Astros one. He said no.
To me,
so the team is not holding him hostage at all. Mm-mm. The team is like, go. First time I've heard it in basketball and football where they say, go find a trade. That's the first time in baseball that I've ever heard them go to a player and agent and say, go find where you want to go. If you can find us a deal to wherever Nolan wants to go, if you can find that deal, go. And it didn't work out. So I disagree with that, Kratz. I think that it's the other way around. I love Nolan, but he's actually the one that's keeping himself there.
No, I meant the Red Sox or other teams are holding the Cardinals hostage because they know he's like, if he only has a certain amount of places he can go, Zalok's going to look like an idiot for not getting anything for him or paying off his entire contract. So why would you push? That's what the Cardinals are sitting there going, well, we want definitely some of those prospects from the Red Sox. Red Sox are like, well, it came out that he didn't want to go there. This is one of the only places you have a chance to go. He's not going to LA. So we're going to hold you hostage. I meant the Red Sox, not the Cardinals.
Yeah, this deal is constructed to be a money dump, and that's okay, right? That's what the Cardinals want to do. They're not as concerned about the prospect return, but they have to be able to dump a good chunk of the contract. And if you look back at what the Houston deal was, the Astros were going to take a lot of the money from that contract. Mm-hmm. So it's not a fit if the Red Sox are like, nah, we'll give you a lower end prospect and you keep a good chunk of the money. and you take care of it. That's not going to work. They're just going to keep him, and they're going to hope that he has a bounce back year offensively and that he'll get traded at the deadline. That's what they'll do, because it's not like he completely fell apart.
No,
He's
I
not
agree.
the same person, right, from a few years back, but it's not like he's 42 years old and he was a 60 OPS plus. Like, he was, I think, a little above league average bat. So there is rebound potential here. The glove is still great. So
Maybe
I think,
Wolf can get him somewhere, You can talk to the
his
Dodgers.
agent. Yeah. Well,
He's
Dodgers,
got some
stop
free
it.
time now. Maybe he's
Not
got
going to the
he's got a
Dodgers.
predetermined idea. The only one I didn't agree with Jim here was the Braves. They're still a really good team. I get it. They haven't made moves. I get it. Spencer Strider's coming off the internal bracing. He's definitely going to be, starting the season later. This is still a really good team. Look at all they lost and they made the playoffs. You come back and you run it back. Morton wasn't the guy that was leading this rotation. They still have Chris Sale. They lost Max Fried. I get that. They're going to be getting Spencer Strider back. This is still a playoff team. May even win the division. Like, nobody's just running away with the NL East just because they haven't made any moves yet.
I have a winner that isn't on here. That's just a little bit outside the box, but you guys are going to think I'm a broken record. Last year, when we talked about this, I said Orioles fans. This year, it's Twins fans. There's an opportunity here for your life as a fan to completely change for the next several decades.
But I have to
How did
see
that go for the Orioles?
I understand. Better, still better, not great, but better, right?
Yeah,
Better.
They still haven't made the big splash, though.
I understand, but they're in a better situation than they were, right? And it's a brighter future because
hopefully, until I see him make the splash, then
I understand, but there's so this is my point with Baltimore. I don't agree with the direction they took, but they were just given an extra $50 million to spend on their payroll this year versus last year. I'm criticizing how they're spending it, but that's more up to the GM.
Yeah,
the group up top is saying, here, you've got a little looser reins to be able to do some damage. What if the Twins did that the last couple of years? They haven't. Aaron Gleeman, our buddy, just put out an article and said they've literally done nothing for 24 months. So you're going to have to go through a little more pain, because the way a sale process goes is that if they start messing with the books, it messes up the sale process. So they literally have to tell their front office, do nothing. We're frozen until we get this done. Once they get it done, it's not going to affect this season much, aside from maybe the trade deadline. But you got to look at the long term here. So if you're a Twins fan, you're rooting for certain ownership groups that are going to come in and treat the team the way it should. That's all. That's a big win. That's an off-season win, because that news came out in the off-season. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, it's fans, though. Fans. Like the Mariners.
Twins fans.
Like we said, the Mariners were losers. The Mariners fans were the losers.
Right.
Not the players. The
Right.
losers are the fans.
Mariners fans wish they were Twins fans right now.
Blue Jays
that
fans are the
situation.
losers, although the Blue Jays didn't get anybody that they wanted. I mean, they got Santander,
Mhm.
but they didn't get Shohei last year. They didn't get Soto this year. They didn't get some of their other guys. But they
Roki.
also got Hoffman and Santander. So
And they
have
might
done
get
stuff.
another.
They might, if they get Pete, I mean,
Then do you take them off the list?
it gets
Don't you
a
have
little
to?
better, though. It's
Yeah.
a little better if they sign a couple more. I don't know. It's an interesting list, Jim. Good job, but I don't know. It's easier to name winners and losers for me.
I think both. But was there anyone else that we were missing from this offseason?
You know who the big winner was? The White Sox.
There you go.
I'm serious.
Marlins are
What was the
losers.
win?
Marlins losers. Yeah,
What's
but
the win for the White Sox?
they're not going to. There's no way on earth they can be as bad as they were last year. So Will Venable, they can lose 110 games this year, and Will Venable could go, you know what? We won 11 more than we won last year, boys. Look, we're on the way up.
So it sounds like Will Venable's the winner.
I mean, the White Sox fans, because they're like, we can't be as bad. Trust me, I was around them this past weekend. They were like, we can't be as bad as we were last year. I'm
What's
like,
the
"No,
difference
we can't
between
be."
120 and 110?
11 wins.
Great. All right. Well, there you go. Let us know your thoughts if you're watching or listening to this after the fact. I always try to check as many comments out as I can, even if you hate us. We still love you. So we'll be right back.
Well, I think I feel better about answering the Langford portion of the question first, Eric, because if you look at Wyatt Langford and you look at where he was last September when he was AL Rookie of the Month and AL Player of the Month with an over 900 OPS, we saw a player who did get off to a slow start last year, and I think there was some issue with his swing, and he was swinging a little bit too uphill, and it took a little bit of time to get out of that, but we saw a guy who finished really, really strong. And so I think that the Rangers quite frankly, I think the Rangers are happier that if there was going to be some mismatch to his season, that he started out slow and made progress as the year went on, rather than starting out fast and then all of a sudden couldn't figure things out. I think that what we saw in spring training last year indicated a kid who was really, really special. What we saw at the end of the year was a kid who had not learned his swing, but made the adjustments he needed to with his swing, and was really giving pitchers a difficult time and finishing strong in what amounted to is really his first full professional baseball season. Because remember, he was a draft pick in 23 and went straight from Florida into the minor leagues. So I'm fairly confident that Wyatt Langford is an everyday star, ready to ascend to a higher level this year. For Evan Carter,
Right.
I think the bigger question is, there's been 2 significant back injuries there, right? He's only 22 years old, and he's missed most of 2 seasons with back injuries. That's concerning for everybody. He spoke this weekend and indicated that he is, again, had no restrictions, that he is swinging well, he feels healthy, and he is ready to go for spring training. All of that said, the one thing that I don't think the Rangers have gotten a full answer on yet is how well Evan Carter can handle left-handed pitching in the big leagues. In a very small sample in 2023, didn't have any hits against left-handers. Obviously, that was the playoff race, and the playoffs, different level of competition. And last year, when he wasn't really healthy, he really struggled against left-handed pitching. So I think that's going to be the thing that the Rangers work him in a little bit more slowly on, is how he fares against left-handed pitching and how much he plays against left-handed pitching. But this is a kid who's got a good approach. He's got good strike zone recognition. And I think if he's healthy, we're going to see a kid who is certainly capable of a high on base percentage. And I do think it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress as he gets more comfortable against lefties.
Well, of course Langford's going to work out. He went to Florida, but that's a different story. There it was. There's the eye roll I was waiting on. There it was.
Here we go. Back on FT with Jesse Friedman, longtime Arizona Diamondbacks writer, podcast host. Great to have you on, Jesse. Happy almost spring training time. And we're excited to keep kind of rolling through team by team previews. But how you doing? Not a bad off season to cover the team.
Hey guys, I'm great. Appreciate you having me. Yeah, I mean, anytime you swoop in and sign the top free agent pitcher on the market, like you're probably doing pretty well for yourself. So yeah, the Diamondbacks, very much to my surprise, honestly, they've had a pretty nice offseason for themselves for sure.
Are you mad? We just had Jameson Taillon on, and I asked them, they have to go play the Dodgers in Japan for 2 games. And I'm like, should you even go? Because they're going to win every game. So as the Diamondbacks in the division have to play them 13 times, the team that beat them 2 years ago, knocked them out of the playoffs, and played really well against them in 24. Should they even play the season? Because the Diamondbacks are trying here. They brought in some big moves and did some things we're going to get into. But should the Diamondbacks even try this year? Or should they just forfeit the games to the Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean you've got 2 competing narratives here, right? I mean one aspect of this is I think we can all agree that yes, some owners should go out and spend more money than they do, but there's also an element of the fact that the Dodgers are pulling in more revenue than the Diamondbacks and then a lot of other teams around the league, right? I mean I think that is not really a controversial point to make, and so there are inherent advantages there. At the same time, we saw what happened in 2023, right? That Dodgers team maybe wasn't quite as star-studded as the team we're expecting to see in 2025, but that Dodgers team was pretty good as well. And the Diamondbacks went in there and frankly kind of obliterated and humiliated them in some ways. So, on one hand, there are some inequities in this sport that are just kind of inherent to the way that the sport runs. And on the other side, you've got this element of randomness in the postseason that really allows anything to happen if you're able to get in. Obviously, the Diamondbacks very narrowly were not able to do that in 2024. But with the addition of Corbin Burns and the offseason that they've had and how good they already were last year, I think they have a decent shot in 2025 to get back in there. And who knows what happens at that point.
Yeah. Hey, arm health matters. We've seen that be a problem for that team many times in the past. It could be a problem again. We'll see. All right. So let's get to business here, and let's get Diamondbacks fans and just fans of any team besides the Dodgers maybe excited with our 2025 storylines. 2025 storylines for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Here's what we're going to run through with Jesse right now. The dreamy rotation, which obviously was boosted by this big signing in the offseason. The Josh Naylor edition, which is sneaky. MVP's loading. We'll talk Cattell and Corbin Carroll, and then also just remind everyone that the Diamondbacks were pretty damn good last year, too. They just were facing a different playoff field. So, Jesse Friedman, let's begin with the headliner, as we should. Corbin Burns signs, surprisingly, with the Diamondbacks, because we saw almost no whispers about this. So when you add him to what's already there, do you think this is one of the best rotations in Major League Baseball, if not maybe the best?
I think it could be. That's really the best answer I can give on that. I'm hesitant to go too far in that direction because, frankly, you look at the numbers a year ago and the results were not good for this starting rotation. The Diamondbacks had a 4.79 starting rotation ERA in 2024. And yes, there were a lot of factors there. You know, Zach Gallen missed a month plus. Merrill Kelly missed 4 months. Eduardo Rodriguez missed 4 months. Obviously, the Jordan Montgomery move did not pan out, to put it mildly. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that on paper still had quite a bit of talent in 2024. And you add Corbin Burns to that mix, it's an easy rotation to dream on, I guess is what I would say at the very least. I mean, Zach Gallen has been one of the more consistent frontline starters in the game for a while. Merrill Kelly, when he's been healthy in recent years, has been excellent. Eduardo Rodriguez was fantastic with the Detroit Tigers back in 2023. Ryan Nelson really came on strong in the second half, a good young pitcher for this team. So if you're able to get like the best version of all these guys or somewhat close to the best version of all of them, it really could be one of the best rotations in baseball. I'm just a little hesitant to go too far down that road when the reality in 2024 was very different from that.
How hesitant are you to say that Josh Naylor is going to be able to fill Christian Walker's shoes? Because Christian Walker, kind of a quiet, super productive Gold Glove first baseman. Josh Naylor, also productive, not quite the resume, super loud.
Yeah, right. Not so quiet with Josh Naylor. They are very different personality wise. I think offensively, Josh Naylor and Christian Walker are pretty similar. I was looking at some numbers earlier today. Over the past 3 seasons, Christian Walker has a 123 OPS plus. Josh Naylor also has a 123 OPS plus. So offensively, I think on paper it could be a pretty good swap for the Diamondbacks where they can at least get something close to what they were getting with Christian Walker. Defensively is a very different story. Watching Christian Walker play first base is one of the most amazing things about watching the Arizona Diamondbacks, or it has been the past 3 seasons. It's been fun for me to kind of get a front row seat to that because he is really good. He is the best defensive first baseman in all of baseball as far as I'm concerned. And Josh Naylor, not to say he's necessarily a liability over there. I know the metrics in 2024 were not great, but there's a substantial difference, right? I mean, there's a reason that I think on Baseball Reference WAR, Christian Walker has almost twice as much WAR over the past 3 seasons as Naylor does. Part of that is the number of games that Walker has played. He's been able to stay healthy. But part of that is also that Christian Walker is an extraordinary defender and Josh Naylor is not that. But in terms of filling, Walker's shoes at first base, I think the Diamondbacks did reasonably well for themselves. You can plug Josh Naylor into the middle of the lineup and feel pretty good about it.
All right, Jesse, do it with me.
Yeah.
You got to rock the baby. You got to learn to rock the baby like Josh Naylor does when he hits home runs, right? So you better get used to rocking the baby when he comes up and he hits those home runs.
Yeah.
right?
He's a
That's,
fun
that's
guy
his
to
thing,
watch.
right? Rock the baby.
That's right. Did it
So-
to Yankee fans. They do it to him back.
And he
whenever
did it to
he's
a lot.
there.
He did it to the White Sox a lot. So I know that pain. All right, we talked about Josh Naylor. You guys have two other studs on your team. One of them, Ketel Marte, had a shot to win the MVP before he got hurt last year. And then Corbin Carroll, the Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, and had a great second half. What can these guys do to improve from where they were last year? And the Diamondbacks scored a lot of runs last year. Can they keep up the offensive surge they had last year? And then with the new pitching staff, will that help them get better?
As far as how they can improve, I mean, Ketel Marte, I think it's hard to ask for improvement there at this point. You did mention he got hurt toward the end of the season, which was a deterrent for him. So, if he's able to play a full 155 games or so, that would certainly be a big development. But Ketel was outstanding for this team. I mean, he hit 36 home runs in 2024. Had he not gotten hurt, he probably would have coasted to 40. Winds up finishing third in NL MVP voting. So, if he's able to just be anything like what he was in 2024, if he's able to duplicate that in 2025, that would be enormous for this team. Corbin Carroll, in terms of improvement, that's where the narrative really lies for me. Corbin, as you said, was great in the second half. He had an OPS over 900, and that came after hitting 2 home runs in his first 87 games. The man hit 2 home runs in his first 87 games, and he finished the year with 22 home runs. So that gives you a sense of just how different of a player Corbin Carroll was down the stretch. And obviously this is a game of adjustments. You guys certainly know that as well as anyone. You're not going to just sort of coast to being a superstar player and never face any bumps in the road along the way, at least not most of the time. And it really felt like Corbin Carroll kind of got over the hump in the second half. And, I'm not sure if he's going to finish first in MVP voting or, how much MVP consideration he'll ultimately get. But he seems like a pretty safe bet to be a lot better in 2025.
I don't think many people, I'm sure many people know that the Diamondbacks last year had 5 more wins at 89 compared to the 84 that they won in the year they went to the World Series. Is this team built for October but isn't sure how to get in? Or are they just going to improve again with the new roster configuration that they came up with like they did last year?
I think they have a shot to be even better in 2025 than they were in 2024. I do. And you're right. I mean, the narrative that the 2024 Diamondbacks were a big disappointment. I mean, in one sense, yes, like you missed the postseason. You feel like you feel like it is a disappointment, rightfully so. But on the other hand, they did win 5 more games than they did the season prior. And you talk about being built for the postseason. It's a little bit hard for me to know exactly what built for the postseason means when there's so much randomness involved. But, you feel pretty good about, Corbin Burns starting a game 1, Zach Gallen starting a game 2, Merrill Kelly game 3, whatever. They'd have a number of options after that. This is a team that I think could probably compete with anyone in 2025 in a postseason series, certainly. And I think a big question for them is what does the offense look like? You mentioned earlier, this team scored more runs than anyone else in baseball in 2024, which still kind of blows my mind. I'm still not entirely sure how that happened. But that was the reality of the situation. This team just absolutely beat the tar out of the ball the entire season. And I'm not sure I'm expecting that to continue in 2025. I still think they could be a good offensive team, especially if Corbin Carroll is able to take that step forward. But you don't have Jock Peterson anymore. Christian Walker, as we said earlier, is no longer here, even though they did get a solid replacement there, I think, in Josh Naylor. So, the question is, if you do take a step back on the offensive side, which I think is likely, how much better can your pitching staff be than it was a year ago? And I think it probably could be quite a bit better, right? I mentioned earlier a 4.79 starting pitching ERA with some of the names that they have this season. I think if you're able to stay healthy, that group could take an enormous step forward and ultimately land this team in a much better position.
Okay, Jesse, so let's recap because then I'm going to put you to the test and tell us what we're missing about this team. Because we covered Burns, Naylor, Ketel, and Corbin bringing it this year. and then how the team was pretty damn good last year. Just was a different landscape for them to have to hit, and they just didn't get over the hump. I mean, the Mets were a pretty surprising team, and obviously the Braves were in a weird spot last season. The Diamondbacks were in that super awkward position of watching and rooting for one team to win both games. Anyway, fast forward to 2025. What are we missing storylines wise that is going to dictate the success of the Diamondbacks?
I think the first thing that comes to mind for me, Scott, is are the Diamondbacks done this offseason? I'm not sure that they are. I think there's a chance that come opening day, this team could still look a little bit different. I know they would like to add a closer if they can. Obviously, Paul Sewald had his struggles down the stretch last year. He left in free agency. So I think that's a hole they would like to fill. I could see them adding a right-handed bat to maybe get some DH reps as well. So I think there are still some things that could be done here. The flip side of that narrative is that I still think there's a decent chance they look to trade someone like Jordan Montgomery in order to free up some salary space. Their payroll is inching close to $200 million right now, which is very much far and away the highest in franchise history. So I'll be curious to see what happens here over these next couple months as we get close to the season. The other narrative that comes to mind for me is Eugenio Suarez, a name that we haven't mentioned yet. If you had asked me in the middle of last year if the Diamondbacks were going to pick up his $15 million club option, I'm not sure I would have taken the question seriously, frankly. I mean, he in the first half really, really struggled. He had an OPS in the 500s for multiple months. And then in the second half, he was one of the best hitters in all of baseball, had an OPS over 900. He had four hit games in the second half. He was unbelievable. And I think I could see a scenario where maybe Gino is able to be a great player again in 2025. Or you could also maybe see a scenario where as he continues to age, maybe we see some regression as we started to see at the beginning of last year. So I think he's a name to watch in 2025 for sure.
Yeah, it was a great pickup. Great dude. Good fella.
Good fella,
that Gino Suarez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Jesse, great to have you on. Thanks for all the insight, man. Really good stuff. Great intel. And we'll have you again on soon. Everyone give Jesse a follow at Jesse N. Friedman, Friedman on Twitter. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Always happy to do it.
Thank you. All right, FT fam, we'll be right back. We've got some words from Teoscar Hernandez, was on Dodgers territory yesterday. Ooh-wee. BetMGM futures win total for the Braves at 93.5. That's an under for me, boys.
Yeah, I'm going to say they win around 90, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's a tough
one.
NL East, man. Tough NL East.
It is. Even the Nationals, they didn't get better enough, but they're going to be
the Phillies, Mets, and Braves, obviously.
Yes. But the Nationals are probably close to the 500 range this year.
You would hope. You think
if
they would take the next step.
Mm-hmm. And the Marlins suck.
Yeah,
but
the Marlins are going to be the White Sox of last year. They're going to get beat up in their division.
People often this is often where you get caught. People are like, "Oh, every team's really good. They're all going to go over." No, you gotta mix in a heavy dose of unders on here. And Kratz, I'm imagining you're with us on this one.
I'm 100% with it. I love the 90 to 91. I thought this was going to be more like a 91.5 to 92. Would have made it tougher, but it's definitely an under. And I'm going to say it again. I preview it. Oh, man, I can't wait till we do the Marlins one. When you guys see what that number is, it's so exciting.
By the way, producer lady is super mad because she's a super Braves fan, so she is just mad because the Braves have done nothing this year.
They're going to be good. It's just, for me,
a playoff team to me.
Yeah, they're a really good ball club. It's just Brian De La Cruz has been their pickup so far, and they didn't need a ton, right? They're set at most of these positions.
Yeah, but they lost Morton. They lost Fried. They lost Minter.
There's your problem. I'm not worried at all about the position players. Joe Jimenez is probably out for
a
the
while
year.
Too, right?
He could be out for the year.
Most likely.
Excuse me. But it's
Sale. MVP. Former MVP. He didn't play much last year. Acuna.
Oh, sure. Yes, obviously. That part's great. But for me, the pitching staff, Sale, awesome, but he's deep into his 30s. Reynaldo Lopez coming off.
Schwellenbach.
Yeah, what he did. Schwellenbach's awesome, but
Schmidt-Schwarber is going to have to be a guy for him.
Grant Holmes, Ian Anderson, guys like that are going to...
People forget how good Ian Anderson was in 21 when they won.
I know, but then he kind of fell off
He
the
fell
map,
off the face of the earth. He had
hurt.
surgery, got hurt. Yeah, agreed.
So anyway, it's good debate, but for us, we're all on the same page on this one. And a reminder, if you're a poker player, BetMGM Poker now has merged player pools in Michigan and New Jersey. So there's a brand new nightly schedule, over $400,000 in guarantees each week. Kratz and I are playing in some online poker tournaments coming up in Jersey.
But you
and
can't get
PA.
the golden bat.
No, we can't. Oh, it's so pretty. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Be right back.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Part of the FT network. There are 12 at the moment. There will be more soon. But Dodgers territory just gets the VIPs on there. So Teoscar Hernandez was on yesterday's show. Let's run two of his sound bites. Let's start with him wanting his stepbrother, Kike Hernandez, back.
What do we need to do to get your brother, Kike Hernandez, back on the team? Can we make some calls? Can we make sure that there's two Hernandezes back on?
I don't know, but hopefully, I'm praying to God that we can bring Kike back. I miss Kike, and I want him to be a Dodger.
There you go.
I said it yesterday when I showed the picture of my son with him at the UFC this weekend in LA. How is Kike not a Dodger yet?
You want him to have the...
But they signed Kim, so that's probably why.
That and they traded Lux, but it's still...
But they have Rojas still.
Tough.
They still have Chris Taylor. They owe a lot of money too, so that's the problem. But someone in the chat had a smart idea. They'll wait till spring training to the rosters, and they can put people on the 60-day, and then they'll bring in Kike.
That's what they have to do with a few situations here, right? Because you can sign Kershaw, then you're going to put him on the 60 right away, coming off the surgery. Yeah. So you have to do some roster manipulation to build the depth that you want. Let's get one more from Teo talking about signing with the Dodgers and taking less money to go there.
There were like 6 teams trying to put together a contract for me. Obviously, for me, winning, it was one of the biggest things, and going back to LA was the second biggest one. I was not gonna leave LA to another team for maybe chasing a little bit more money or more years. I just want to find a place where I can feel comfortable and my family feels good. And when I was going through all of that with my engine, LA was the one that filled all the check boxes. But it was, it was just going to my free agent, hearing from other teams offers and years and like all the little things that the contract for me to put together. But at the end of the day, it have to be a really, really like a big offer from other team for me to leave LA.
There you go. So if he got the Santander offer, Kratz, of 5 years, 90, he gone. But he got 366 from the Dodgers. I think there were some offers maybe in the 370 range or something like that. But if you really wanted the guy, you had to go higher. And this is what you get, not only for being the Dodgers, Kratz, but also for having the player on your team. And then he happens to have an awesome time and win a World Series. So they had a leg up on the competition in that regard.
It's kind of what we've been saying the whole time. Guys want to go there. And so other teams have to pay more. They have to, he had a great time. He lived it last year. Yes. Does he think they're going to win another World Series? Yeah. I mean, that's why he signed back. But it's not like the Dodgers were like, oh, we know Teo wants to come back. As jovial and outward as he is with his feelings, I'm sure they knew he wanted to come back. But they didn't just go and undercut him. They didn't go undercut him and say, oh, we can get Teo for nothing. He wants to come back. They're doing it right. And they're doing it with money. I get that, but they're doing it right out there.
All right, I want to show one more thing before we hit break. Hot sheet. We get the top prospects on the sport on the show. So we had Kobe Mayo on from the Baltimore Orioles, Baseball America's #2 prospect in their loaded farm system. And here's what he said about the jump from AAA to MLB, which is tougher than ever, according to many prospects right now.
It definitely is a big difference. It's a big jump. And I'd say one of the biggest factors and reasoning why it is so big is because you do have little room for error, especially coming up like last year when I did in a pennant race. You're trying to win every game. There's, like I said, there's little room for mistakes. So, if you're in I think I started off AAA when I first got called up in 23, like hitting 180 through like the first month. But I was able to play every day and kind of get out of it. And I ended up my next, 60 at bats hitting 330. But you don't get that, the leniency in AAA or in the big leagues that you do in AAA to kind of just get out of it and not have any repercussions. So it is a big adjustment. Pitchers are really good. There's no level past the big leagues. Like that's it. Like that's as good as it gets.
There you go. And much more of that conversation, obviously, if you go to the Baseball America YouTube channel and check out that conversation. But we're getting almost all the big boys on the show. So it's been really cool. The prospects obviously remember where they came from and give us their time. And then you just tell them, hey, when you're a superstar, don't forget, pay it forward. Keep making yourself as accessible as you can because people want to hear. That's the show. We'll be right back on FT for Slap. A little inside FT question that was popular in the chat today, so I'll bring it here. Mark said, how long in advance, on average, are interviews set up? And then also added that he imagines it's tough because we're independent, so we don't work with a place or for a league or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it was a good question. Oh, there it is. Not being backed by a network.
Depends who it is, though, who the interview is. Sometimes we book them pretty far out.
Yeah, I told him, it could be weeks, and it's often the morning of, depending on who it is. Also, very big difference between a writer and a player. Mm-hmm. Writers are pretty good to jump on quickly, especially given that the news cycle changes. Players are much more regimented with their schedule and want to know at least a little bit in advance. In the off season, during the season, it can often be send out to a PR staff and be like, hey, can we get this player today? And he's like, yeah, cool. Okay. He's got time at this window.
But also depends on their schedule, the players, meaning a lot of them like to do it on the road when they're in a hotel by themselves. Some like to do it at home. It just depends. So it's all about when they can do it and who wants to do it. Mm-hmm. We've been pretty lucky on the show. We've gotten a lot of guys between Kratz and playing for every team and Scott working at MLB Network. Yeah. They get everybody.
And you see guys on Saturdays often when you're working the Fox games. Yes, you do. But it's a constant machine. Of course, our big man Mark behind the scenes working the phones all the time. So it is a difficult task.
Well, hopefully after this weekend when we go to the BBWAA, we get Judge on for the first time and Skenes on for the first time and Barry on for the first time.
Yeah.
We can get them to enjoy it and maybe they'll come back more than once.
It's true. Brent Suter the other day, I called him that morning and he came on that day. He was my break if in emergency. So I broke the glass and I texted Suter B and he was like, I can't make it on until 3. I'm working out. I was like, can you do 2:40? He's like, I'm in. So yeah, sometimes it happens 2 weeks out. Sometimes it's that day.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's certain guys
there's people we all know, we all have friends that we can text and call. And so, or even, DM for me now on Instagram as well.
Yeah, we do that.
I've got a bunch of people that I've DM'd and they most of the time they get back to me.
I use the FT account. I go right on the FT Insta and I'm like, hey, you're following us. Can we get you on? Remember Mike Schilt too. We talked about him for months, and we finally got him. There's guys like that where we have to reel in the fish. find out the Hall of Fame winners. We'll have some congrats videos out there if there are people that come in, winners, whatever, honors, if they find out they're in the Hall of Fame. So obviously there's a couple locks. We know Ichiro's getting in.
CC's probably in.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Wagner's going to be close, but he should get in.
Yeah, Wagner close.
Andrew Jones is an interesting one to me. I just don't know how you get Andrew Jones and not Torrey Hunter, but that's maybe I'm biased.
Just going to miss, though, Andrew Jones
is
what some people were saying, and Beltran is probably going to get in.
Really? Beltran's an interesting one because people have varied opinions on Carlos Beltran.
In what way?
The whole Houston Astros thing.
I know.
That's what I'm talking about.
But people said they
as
punished
a player
him.
wise, yeah.
Yeah, people said they punished him. You know, a lot of writers like to be like, okay, this was a bad offense, but not an offense that would keep him out forever. I'm going to not let him get in year 1. This is year 2 for him.
Oh,
right?
is he the shortest tenured manager of all time?
One of. Oof.
It was the only time. It was the people that I've read the comments about. They don't feel like it was his only time that Beltran did something like that. It's just when he got caught. That's all.
Right.
That's what people
there was more homework
griping about. Which
got it.
It can't be all wrong.
There's still a strong contingent that doesn't care because he's gotten a lot of votes.
I mean, PEDs. If people are either for or against PEDs too, so
yep.
It all depends on what the writers care about.
Writers
have all the power.
Yes, we will.
And they hold it over your head. Trust
for this and on Saturday when we have our live stream. All right, everyone. We will see you tomorrow. We'll see you into the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about it.